Okay, here we are. Part 3 of this series for the purposes of modeling a Nerf gun in ZBrush on the iPad. And it has been determined that, yes, we all wish that ZModeler was available in ZBrush, but as of yet, it is not. So this is kind of the old school way of doing this hard surface stuff in ZBrush. It's similar to the way it's done in Nomad right now as well, with basically slicing things using the knife tool with the curve here in ZBrush. And this is kind of bugging me, this rounded part that's sticking up off the top. So I'm just gonna slice that off. And it's not quite where I want it, so I can slide over and slice. Like it ended up being higher. Oh, well, for one reason or another, that's where it wants to slice from. Oh, you know why? Because I broke the cardinal rule. Have things in perspective mode. Don't do that. Now let's try this again. I think we'll have some better luck. There we go. Now it's sliced right at that line there, which I think is good for now. Okay. So let's revisit an area that kind of bothered me. This piece is a lot thicker than it is here. You know, when I was doing my Boolean operation, I messed something up. Not sure what it was. So the question is, what's the best way to fix that right now? I could create another Boolean shape and try to do it that way. Or just live with it for now. Think we'll go ahead and try to make another Boolean piece. And so the way I want to do that is with the insert mesh brush. I'm going to insert a cube, and we don't have symmetry on, but I'm going to go ahead and turn it on so I get it right in the center. Drag out a cube and release. So now it's perfectly perpendicular or whatever with that back face, which is good for my purposes. And everything's masked except for this cube. I'm going to go ahead and go to subtool, split unmasked points, and now it's its own thing. Then using the gizmo tool, just going to stretch this into position. So we need it down in this general region, and we need it wider, about here, a little wider, okay? And then we're gonna slice it off, continue that line there. So I'll go into transparency mode so I can kind of see a subtle line. Gonna get my knife tool once again, and symmetry's on, so it should do this on both sides. Oh, it's going opposite direction. So in this case, I want to pull it from the top. I'm going to slide it around until I get that top edge basically where I want it. And I should be able to slice it. But it wasn't the right angle, so we're going to do that again. All right. There we go. That's pretty close to the right angle. Should be able to move it a little bit. Slice. All right, we are very close. Close enough, I think, for my purposes. see here. A couple of other ways we can handle this if we really want to line that up. So let's do that. Let's just get off of the 3D gizmo for a minute. Then I'm going to use masking. I'm going to use lasso. I want to get a sharp kind of selection here. So holding down masking, I'm going to grab this guy. And I'm mostly concerned about just these polygons here, not the stuff on the sides. So I'm going to go to the top and do a reverse mask to make sure I don't get that area. Okay, so now that's clean. Good. And then the same for this bottom area. We want to clean that up a little bit. So reverse mask. This is actually, that's probably too much. Let's try that again. Barely clipped that bottom edge. Okay, so now that's clean. We've essentially just got these sides selected. Go back to the gizmo. We're still on symmetry. Holding this plus minus, I can move this over to this edge where there's a bend and just rotate it. So it got those, lined up pretty decently. We'll see what kind of a mess it is later, but we want to go ahead and clean things up again because this bottom part got messed up. Yep. Gotta go from this side, and didn't like that. Spherical plane, so let's turn off symmetry, try that again. Crossing the symmetrical plane again. I think it really is mad because it's masked, but we'll try it from this side. Actually, probably wanna, yeah, it's probably better anyways. Get it? No. All right, it's being dumb. So what do we do when it's being dumb? We dynamesh it. Let's crank it up. Dynamesh that guy. Make sure we don't have any of that going on. Let's try this again. And slice. Got us where we want it. Okay, so that was a lot of work, but I think it's going to be worth it. And we're learning stuff along the way, right? So let's grab this model here is the one we're subtracting from. Okay, and then our subtraction piece is right under it. We want to hide everything else. Only want the pieces that are involved in the Boolean operation visible. We've got this below, which is the right place for it. Give it a subtraction. Turn on live render booleans or whatever, live booleans. And there we go. We can see what's happening there. It's not as clean as I'd like it, but we'll cleaning stuff up like this later. So for now, I think it is doing what I want it to do at least. So let's see. Yeah, if I hide that, it's no longer part of the operation. Definitely need that visible. Actually, you know what? I think we can do some cleaning beforehand. Let's turn off live boolean, solo this guy. And let's see if we can flatten this area. We've got this turned on. Gonna grab our H polish, turn it way up, and just hit it with some polish. Okay. Same thing with the bottom. polish it up. And the back, polish it up. It looks pretty square now. The top doesn't matter because that area is already subtracted. Turn that back on, turn off solo. Those are too visible. I think that's definitely cleaner, although see that top piece is cutting in. Well, might as well take care of that too. Let's use our trim dynamic brush. Just gonna smooth that top edge so it doesn't cause us any problems. Okay, let's unsolo. How we looking? Got a little bit of something, so we're almost there. Maybe just smooth it out. How's that look? Oh yeah, that's looking clean. Although this stepped in farther than I wanted it to now. What the heck? Okay, it's because when I was polishing it, yeah. Let's try to use this guy. Throw it to the center. Turn off symmetry, throw it to the center. Just gonna widen that out a touch. Now it's messing up at the top. Gotta love it. So, suffice it to say, it is better if you do this right the first time. We're trying to fix it here, and while I think it's possible, not ideal. So we'll leave it. We may come back, fill it back in, subtract the whole piece. You know, that may be the cleanest way to do it, but for now, let's just do that. And let's go back to these layers, make Boolean mesh. It's doing its thing. And now we need to plug it back in here. Bada bing. We can get rid of these pieces now. Delete. Yep. Careful with deleting, remember, because there's no undo on deletes. We're just making these pieces visible. Now, you know, even though we've got kind of that step happening there, it could almost be intentional. You know, that's where the plastic's coming together or whatever. All right, so as long as we're looking in there, we've got some holes down in there that, you know, we're in this mode of using Boolean, so we might as well do this. We'll grab a cylinder and turn on symmetry. And the reason I turn on symmetry is it helps me with those little red dots get it right in the center. So we've got it where we want it. That look pretty close to the right size, but I'm gonna make it a little smaller. Alrighty, and needs to be a bit longer. It's not really working with invisibility mode because it's still part of the same tool. So let's split it. In theory, this should be better now. Yep, we can see it. So now sink that in there even deeper. You know, it's got to fit a Nerf gun bullet in there, for goodness sakes. All right, I'm liking that. Now, I don't know if I've shared this or not before, but if you hold down this bottom button and drag, then that was the wrong button. That's not what I wanted. So hold down this masking button and drag. See that? It duplicates your shape that you have selected. And we need 4 of these guys. Just get them mostly the right distance. It's pretty darn close. They're all part of the same subtool, and they've been masked. I've just unmasked them. Get out of transparency mode here. That top one, essentially in the right spot. These could probably all be a little smaller. Okay, so that's essentially the right spot. If you really wanted to, you could split those to subtools, use your align tools, make sure they're exactly the right distance apart, but we're not that concerned. So back to our process of removing these layers that are not part of the live Boolean. Hold this down, Boolean process, subtraction. We can see how it looks. We like it. Excuse me. No, we're doing Boolean. Make Boolean mesh. See, but several warnings were reported during the process. And few inaccuracies. Oh, great. So, what is your problem? Was it still masked or something? No. Okay, well, let's see what it looks like, shall we? Let's bring it in. Bada bing. It's looking pretty good to me. As if we hide these other 2. How's it look? Looks pretty good to me. Well, what your problem is? Good. We're good. And I'm going to save this layer because I think I may want to use it for the bullets later on, the non-existent bullets that we don't have as part of this gun right now, but eventually we will. So we can make them visible, turn off the Boolean process, turn off live Boolean, make all these visible again, and just use the 3D gizmo tool to, whoa, that was a freaking mess. Pull this out a little bit so we remember those are the bullets. Sweet. This gun is coming together. All right. So as part of the second video, I meant to have this, the creation of this trigger done, but problem with the recording and didn't happen. I got a phone call mid recording and yeah, it was a mess. So it's basically the same process of what I'm going to do here to get the little indentations. So what I'll do is select this piece. Is it all one piece or? Yeah. I believe it should be separate pieces, but should be and is are 2 different things, right? So what we're going to do in that case is let's solo this. Yeah, I think I subtracted it at the same time and caused some issues. So we're going to use good old polygroups to help us out here. Let's get this box so I can, come on, should be able to get the inverse here. No? All right, it's being weird. There we go. Yeah, I don't know why it was being weird. And then we'll get rid of that. Bada bing. You want us to make sure you see that green square. Okay, so these are now together here. Let's go to polygroups and group visible. Now they're all part of the same poly. And then we'll inverse what we're seeing here again. And then we'll make all of this part of the same polygroup. Where are we at here? Group visible. Okay. Now we'll make everything visible. Bada bing. Now in subtool, we're going to split the parts. Okay, can't do that. Mesh is not composed of multiple parts. Oh, okay. Yeah, duh. Group split. Let's do that. How about we do that? Okay. We're on solo, so it disappeared for a minute. Okay, so all that to get this to be its own piece again. We've got some holes in it though, right? We punched out some holes. So what are we gonna do there? Well, we can go to geometry and modify topology and see what that looks like when we close the holes. I've got a feeling we're gonna have to do some stuff to make it work. Close holes. Yeah, see, it creates this kind of crazy organic looking mesh, which is actually probably okay for what we're doing. It pokes into here, but that's just temporary. So let's do that. Okay, so it's its own thing now, finally. And back to layers. We want to duplicate it. And then I'm going to duplicate it again. Hide one of them. And then for one of these guys, I'm going to move it into position so that it's in a happier place. Whoops. All right, move it. Okay, so this area right here that's gray, that's the area that we want to keep. So we're just trying to get that generally the right size. It is, okay. We're gonna scale it up in the x-axis, scaled on both sides. So now, back to the Boolean, and we're gonna make a lot of these invisible. And that, so we just have these two. Top piece we want to act as a subtraction, so this may not work because I think it needs to be below it. We hit subtraction, live Boolean, nothing happened. Move this above. There we go. Now we're in business. All right. So back to Boolean. Let's make that real. Got this weird little floating piece over here, but we can get rid of that. No problem. Okay. And let's bring it in. This last one. There it is. We're going to delete these two pieces. Delete. And delete. Okay. Now we've got this first piece that I said we wanted to keep for the time being. And let's scale that in, make sure. Nope. Turn off live Boolean. You should not have any Boolean operations right now. But it does. Subtraction, we don't want that. So yeah, this piece here needs to come in. And what? We delete the wrong piece. Yep, we sure did, friends. Sure did. All right, so we delete this. Thankfully, it's still in our tools. Bring this back. That one is a keeper. This one, scale it in. All right, now we're getting that detail we're looking for, which is this little indentation here. Let's make everything else visible again so we can see how it's all lining up. Okay, I'm digging that. Now, have some leftover stuff to trim off here, right? So, we'll start with this one that's active, why not? Use our knife tool. Again, curve. Okay, and start to drag that, and then if I double tap, right, nope. It's this one. Then it goes a hard angle, and I'm going to bring this way up. And it says it doesn't like that because we're crossing the symmetrical plane. But we know what the real problem is. It wants to be dynameshed, right? So we'll go ahead and dynamesh that first. And that didn't turn out so hot. So try it again at a higher resolution, 900 or something. All right, that's better. Now let's try this again. So we're going to start to slice. Okay, we're going to double tap, move it up. That gives us a sharp break, release. And it's still giving us trouble. All right, let's solo this bad boy here. Try, well, transparency. Let's just try an easier area here. Oh, wrong way. Yep, that's working. Cannot perform symmetrical knife. Yeah, well, you did it, so thanks. We're just getting rid of some of this excess that we don't need. All right, we got it, finally. All right, turn off transparency, go to this other piece. Then we've got that little floating piece we're gonna get rid of. So for this one, we're gonna go to select here. Okay. And I'm gonna just select this area. That's all we see, right? And then go to handy dandy modify topology, delete hidden. Boom. And if I try to tap or whatever, it's not working because it's gone. Okay, so now that's essentially how I want it. And yes, you are correct. This is definitely easier in other apps that are not on the iPad. Like, there may be some. I mean, I know there's some kind of CAD type apps, but this is the process we're going with, you know? So now we got this interesting piece here, and several different ways we could do it. Probably Boolean is going to make the most sense. So that's what we'll do. So looks like that's happening all in this general area, right? So let's duplicate that bad boy. Okay. I just hid the one, but I don't want to go too crazy with hiding yet because I need to see these other things. Give me an idea of, where our booleans are going to be made. So let's use insert mesh again. We got the cylinder. That's what we want. I'm going to go ahead and grab a cylinder and make sure not to adjust, just a clean movement just to ensure that it doesn't turn into a squash cylinder. So right off the bat, I did a pretty good job at getting this generally in the right shape there. I'm going to make it a little bigger than, go to transparency, snap to view here. Oops, sorry, I bumped the camera. Oh, I did something wrong. There we go. All right, that's generally where I want it. I'm not seeing as good as I'd like in the transparency world of things. So let's turn off transparency, scale it down, then back up again. Okay, so if that's right on, let's just barely above. Okay, so there's our first piece. Let's embed it in there a bit more. And let's split it from the other piece of geometry there. So split unmasked points. So now that's its own thing. We're going to make sure nothing's masked. Okay, and then center this. We're going to squash it because this piece is pretty narrow. Whoops, I did the wrong one, at least for the last part. We got to make sure to use the non-uniform scale. Okay, let's bring that up in front here. So now we've got this floating piece that's part of the gun, gun body. The cylinder at some point got a little crooked, I think. But for this piece, it's not going to be the end of the world. So we'll keep it. Okay. We could duplicate this or, try to use the insert mesh and draw another cylinder to get some of these other shapes, which is what we will do, I think. So insert mesh, we got cylinder. It's generally going to be in this area. We draw it out. It's probably too big, but that's okay. So kind of lines up with where this handle is. Then there's a little bit of space, a little subtraction there. I think I like it. I'm going to call that a win. Keep that boy. Sink it in a little bit. Okay, and then we have this big piece right there, which is basically a just giant cylinder. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this, make it much bigger. Undo that. Drag it into position over here. And if you'll note, it's just a little bit, above the handle here. Then it's fairly flat, but there's more space there. So let's go bigger. And again, if this were meant to be perfect, you know, we'd want to have schematics we're working from and everything, but this is the eyeballing it approach. Okay, we'll call that good. Alrighty. So one thing is I've got multiple pieces that are part of the same subtool, but that's okay because we can just go to split to parts. Okay, now they're all their own separate piece, just like we want. That's beautiful. And we're going to grab this one, duplicate him, and drag it on over here. Let's see, let's center that a little bit. He's been duplicated. We need to subtract a little area from here. Something like that now. This is definitely not quite right, but it's okay. We can fix it. A little more thick. Bring this one over. Maybe make it a little bigger. So I'm looking at this kind of reverse piece that it's going to make here. And still not super happy with it. So subtract. There's a piece missing here. There we go. Okay. Yeah, this big one. Move over a bit. But you can see the process. And obviously dial it in to your own taste there. Let's see. Let's duplicate this down over into the upper handle area and see about another subtraction. Gonna go like that, something like that. And there's a little piece that is more rounded here that we're gonna have to figure out later. We're gonna have an extra piece, but that can be sliced off. So at this point, I think we're in an okay place. So we've got all these cylinders and make sure they're unmasked. They can actually all be part of the same subtool. So for that, just do the merge down. Always okay to skip, merge down again, merge down again. So now they're all part of the same thing. This is the piece we're subtracting from. This is the subtractor. Hide everything else. And you could group some stuff that isn't being bold into a folder and hide that, and then you're just, you know, hiding one at a time, and that may be better. We need to give this a Boolean process of subtraction, and basically we've got a shape that is close to what we want. Definitely not perfect. You know, you can see all these pieces that are being made to subtract that, but I'm going to call it good. And go to Boolean. We need to make sure we're on the right mode here. We are. Boolean. Make Boolean mesh. It's doing its thing. All right. Let's add it in here. There it is. This one can go. This one can go. Now, make all this stuff visible again. Okay. And then we want to slice this off somewhere. So, let's see if this works. Whoops. Well, what we want. We gotta pick the knife tool. Knife curve. On the wrong direction. And this is supposed to slice at kind of an angle like this, but you know, because this isn't perfect, it's definitely not perfect. Sure we got everything. Okay. Transparency. Yep, there it is. He's his own dude. We can move him around, sink him in slightly for good measure. And there he is, but it's only one side, right? So when we're ready, we'll want to flip, mirror it, duplicate it, flip it, all that jazz. All right, that's interesting. So this piece, for some reason, didn't subtract, but I'm not necessarily sad about that because we can do that here with the curve. Maybe it'll be better. Nope, doing some weird stuff. Okay. Grab the curve brush, start to move it. Hit the plus once to start to give it a curve. Hit it again to curve some more. Line it here, it's not great. And there we go. So subtract that out of there. Doesn't look too horrible. You can see the process, at least. Could be better, for sure. Let's see. Just move to shape this a bit more. And in this area, we'll use the trim dynamic. Whoop. Undo that and solo it. Maybe polish instead. Yeah, polish. Keeps it on the same plane, which is good for our purposes this time. Undo that one. All right, unsolo. Basically got that looking not too horrible. And again, it's all about trusting the process because with art, there's always doubt. You might argue this particular thing is not art because I'm just copying something that exists. but it's a study. It's a pursuit to get better at. So in that regard, definitely call it art. Just chopping off some of these edges here and there. Got a little sharp. All right. So this big cylindrical type place is definitely causing some interesting issues. Not exactly where I want it. Looking over at the model, I don't know if we need it poking all the way through there. It's looking like we don't. So we'll chop some of that off, shall we? Whoops, gonna jump. There we go, that works. It's better. And really, we don't need it up in here either, because this area is handling the curve. Let's see. Oh, I didn't pull it through far enough. There we go. And then this piece that's sticking out doesn't need to be there either. So the question is, do I want to slice it or use some type of Boolean command? I've got the slicer, so let's just do that for now. Or we'll at least try it. Oh, wrong direction. Let's try it again. Tap to curve it. And what happened? Something horrible. There we go. I don't know what I did there, but let's try this one more time. Still don't like it. Let's try it again. Get a curve. Move it generally where we want it. And that's pretty good. Pretty good. Okay, this is looking more like a gun. More like the gun that we're trying to make, at least. Made some progress. Let's finish this so that we can mirror it, I think. So it does have an extra piece. So different ways we can handle that. Let's do it with masks, shall we? So for that, I want to increase the count here by quite a bit. So we're going to use Dynamesh, crank that up to 900 something. Boom. It's pretty dense. Turn off that mode. Then we want to duplicate it. Well, no, because we're using masks. Sorry. I'm awake, I promise. This. Let's change the size a little bit. And start painting our mask in the area that we want to subtract. I'm going to change focal shift to nothing. I'm going to use subtraction of the mask. Should give me a sharper mask here, or a sharper brush. Okay, and again, we're just trusting the process here. Chop this area off. Went too deep on that one. So if nothing else, you're getting several different techniques. I didn't say they're good techniques, but they are techniques for these different types of operations here. This size of my draw size, bring that down. And it's just a matter of subtracting, redrawing or adding back. All right. So now back to the side view here. And can we unmask some of this action? Yeah, a little bit. Let's change to curve. Oh, lost half of the front. All right. Still definitely not perfect. Oh, sorry, bumped the camera again. Oops. Our brush back. Oh. Whoops, moved up. Wrong one. And subtract a little bit here. And you know what would have probably been the best way to handle these pieces would have been to use alpha masks that had been pre-designed and all that jazz. That would have been good. Actually, now that I'm thinking about this, solo it, and then we actually do want to mask out everything except for that area that's being affected. So back to, well, let's try lasso. Start here, come around, loopity loop. We get it. Yep, it's pretty good, pretty good. Now to masking, sharpen mask. Okay, might be too sharp. Not sure what's going on here, why that turned out to be kind of a grayscale, but okay, well, we deleted or inverted it, which is fine. Whoops. Undo that. Lots of things to remember here. Oh, just darkening in this area that ended up being lighter for one reason or the other. Okay. Back to masking. Let's hit that with sharpen again. Shrink mask. And then row mask. Sharpen. And then that can kind of act as a cleaning your mask tool as well. Okay, at long last, we are almost at the next step. Let's invert the mask again. And using move, there's different ways we can do this, of course, but let's try this way first. We can just pull out some geometry to represent our new piece here. Okay, get out of solo mode. Look at that. It's perfect, like it was machined straight from the factory. Not quite, not quite, but back to Dynamesh, turn on polish. There we go. See, that cleans it up a little bit. And then you can use your trim dynamic or other tools. Clean some of these areas up. And I just made it worse. Well, we'll come back to that. We can do some fancy masking and, you know, ensure that we do a little better job. Okay, but at least we got it to a point where I feel comfortable mirroring it over. So let's do that. So duplicate, and then formation, mirror. Now there it is on the other side. We want to merge down. Bada bing, it's one piece. Now if we turn on symmetry, there we go. We're able to work with both. Now this piece will be subtracted away and become part of the handle. So question is, do we just leave it there and eventually Dynamesh it together? Or, you know, do we do something else? Those answers and more will come in part 4 of this tutorial, building a Nerf gun in ZBrush for the iPad.